In 1999, renowned filmmaker Stanley Kubrick passed away from a heart attack at the age of 70, months before his film Eyes Wide Shut was to hit theaters. Kubrick was a true artist and one of the most influential filmmakers of all time. His death, however, left one of his longest gestating projects unfinished. That was until his good friend Steven Spielberg decided to piece it together and turn it into a fully realized film, a project decades in the making. AI, Artificial Intelligence, was released in June of 2001. Being the late Stanley Kubrick's brainchild and being brought to life by one of the most beloved directors of the era, the movie had a fair amount of hype and mystique surrounding it. But as TV spots and commercials started making the rounds, viewers paying extra close attention began to notice something strange. Of course, the sparkle in the text containing a secret message, classic technique, we've seen it before. Certain letters in the text at the end of the trailer light up sequentially, spelling out, "Warn her," and highlight the name Jeanine Salla. Evan died sinning.
What does this mean?
You guys, this is the godfather of all ARGs. This is The Beast. Another trailer of the movie held even more secrets. In the text, Summer 2001, each letter was strangely marked by these lines, also highlighted by a sparkle in the same fashion as the other trailer. So, people figured that this must have been a clue. Summer 2001, 9 characters, the same as a phone number. Using the number of lines on each character, people deciphered the message and called the phone number, where they were met with a strange recorded voice message.
Welcome, my child. Once upon a time, there was a forest that teemed with life, love, sex, and violence. Things that humans did naturally, and their robots copied flawlessly. This forest is vast and surprising. It is full of grass and trees and databanks and drowned apartment buildings filled with fish. It can be a frightening forest, and some of its paths are dark and difficult. I was lost there once a long time ago. Now I try to help others who have gone astray. If you ever feel lost, my child, write me at thevisionary.net, and I will leave you a trail of crumbs.
Visiting the website thevisionary.net, which is sadly now lost to time, players of the game were able to discern that their next step was to email the person from the recording. Already knowing the domain, players just needed to figure out the first half of the email address, and since the recording refers to the caller as child, it didn't take long to uncover the proper address. People who emailed mother@thevisionary.net received the following response.
Jeanine, once upon a time there was a young man who dreamed of the sea. The waves, he thought the waves beat like the world's heart, crashing and hissing against the shore. Was the key, crash and hiss, crash and hiss. You've seen her name before. He loved the sound of the swell as it slapped and gasped against the hull of his boat. But you've probably forgotten, and he was thinking about the rocking ocean, gentle as a mother's arms, at the very moment he was murdered. She will lead you to Evan, just as she led them.
Right.
You guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So far, we have 2 names, 2 persons of interest. Jeanine Salla, who from the trailer we've received instruction to warn her. The email response from the visionary.net email is also addressed to her. According to her credit from the trailer, she's a sentient machine therapist. Say what? And then we have a person named Evan, and the email from the visionary.net alludes to Evan having been murdered. Around this time, as the marketing for the movie was ramping up, posters were circulating, and again, people noticed something strange. On the backs of the posters, certain letters were circled, some with circles and some with squares. Grouping all of the circled letters and all of the squared letters together made another new message. Evan Chan was murdered. Evan Chan, okay, now we have a full name. Jeanine was the key. You guys, you gotta keep in mind that this was over 20 years ago. At the time, this was insane. Nothing like this had ever been done before. People didn't even know what this was. The term ARG didn't even exist at this point. The The popular movie website Ain't It Cool News was one of the first outlets to cover the story and brought in a lot of new eyes and attention to the AI mystery. And even back in 2001, Google was her friend. Searching for Jeanine Salla uncovered a rabbit hole of different websites. One of the most prominent and the very first result in the search was for a school named Bangalore World University. Browsing the site, we find all kinds of useful information. Sifting through the pages, you can find an odd detail. The site seems to be from over 100 years in the future, and you can work out that the year is 2142. We also learn that Jeanine Salla is part of the school's faculty as a professor of AI studies. She has an about page, and we can finally put a face to the name. In her bio, we learn lots of important details. She was a student at Aragon Institute of Technology. She worked on simulating human emotions in artificial intelligence, and most importantly, we get her contact information, phone number, and email. We can finally warn her. Emailing Jeanine gives the following auto-response.
Although Dr. Salla would prefer to deal with you in person, the volume of her correspondence makes that impossible. Unfortunately, it is my unhappy task as her evolved assistant to tell you that your message, when evaluated by my admitted arbitrary battery of metrics, is not important enough to pass along to her at this time. Or ever, really. But if you think that's just me, try the phone.
An AI response. All right then. Clearly we need to call. Calling Jeanine also gives an auto-response, except this time with a bit more to go on.
I'm out of town on personal business for a few days. If you are returning my phone call about Evan, please press 2. If this is Laya calling in, please enter your code for a separate message.
Pressing 2 gives you,
If you need to know how to get to the funeral, please call Nancy at 919-425-2310. And if you have any idea how Evan of all people could die on a boat, then please tell me because God knows I still can't believe it.
great, another person. Who the f*** is Nancy? Calling her number gives you,
I want to thank everybody for their support during this difficult time. Evan's funeral will be held on Sunday, March 18th at 3 p.m. at the Durham Reformed Church of Christ Shrine. Thank you for your prayers. Please enter a mailbox number or wait.
So we got some work to do. Going back to Jeanine's About page, we can find a link that takes us to her family's homepage. The Salla family has their own website. We're greeted with members of the Salla family. Jeanine Miro Salla, PhD, Colleen Francesca Salla, Laya Joanna Salla. There's also some important notes here. Jeanine develops AI, is a consultant on movies, things we already knew, but Colleen is a eugenically bred human, taught by AIs, and Laya is an enhanced post-human, implanted with AIs. You guys, this is important world building here. Remember, the year is 2142, and the more we research and piece together what's going on, it becomes clear that these people, these websites, etc., take place within the movie, within the AI artificial intelligence universe.
Impossible.
Back to the Salla family website, clicking any of the portraits brings us to a new page titled For Women, with our boy Evan Chan in the center, surrounded by images of Jeanine Salla, Nancy Chan, most definitely the same Nancy from the voice message, Laya Salla, and finally, Cloudmaker, a sentient sailing machine. Clicking the picture of Evan takes us to a rather eerie in memoriam page containing ghostly images of Evan. Beware, death by water. He was a superb swimmer. He was a wonderful sailor. He died on the boat who loved him within sight of land. Interesting. Going back to the For Women page and clicking on the boat, Cloudmaker takes us to a page about Evan on another site. Wouldn't you know it, the Chan family website, of course. On this page, a whole lot of important info. Nancy was Evan's wife. Jeanine and Evan were friends who met in school, the Aragon Institute of Technology. He worked at a company called Donutech. Cloudmaker is his boat, who he seems quite infatuated with. As you can see, there's a lot of threads to pull at here. There's a lot to digest. Back in 2001, most of the conversation around the AI mystery and this fictitious network of websites and characters who killed Evan Chan, that was primarily going down in a Yahoo group called Cloudmakers, named after Evan's boat, of course. There were thousands of participants from all over the world helping to unravel the mystery. And again, there's a lot to cover here. On Evan's About page on the Chan family website, Evan left the link for his employer, Donutech, and their staff website. Before we tackle the ID and password that's sure to grab most people's attention, poking around in other areas of the site, we can find a list of research staff and their contact information. And there's one for Evan. Unfortunately, this didn't hold any important information. The Cloudmakers Yahoo group tried emailing each one of these contacts, and only one of them had any information of value. A link to a site called uniteandresist.org, an aggressive-looking page supporting an anti-robot militia. Interesting. Going back to the Donutech website, let's take a look at that staff login. Since Evan was employed here, we should probably try and figure out what his login was. On the Chan family page, there's a scrapbook section with a bunch of photos, and in one of them, we can see Evan in his work uniform and can easily make out his employee ID. Easy peasy. Now the password. Luckily, in 2001, with thousands of Cloudmakers working on the mystery, they were able to brute force guess the password. The hint came from one of the photos on the Chan website, a boat with the name Venus. The password was Aphrodite. And we're in. We have access to Evan's private emails. There's a notes to self section, some haikus, most definitely written by him. And what do we have here? Photos. Juicy photos. 7 photos, just one of his wife Nancy, and 4 of them of Salla, Jeanine's younger sister. Now, why would he have so many photos of her? Did they have some sort of relationship? Definitely very zesty. And 2 of them of an unknown woman in bed who we don't know yet. But saving the photos gives us a big clue. Venus. And just as I suspected from the very beginning, our boy Evan was a dog. Introducing possible love affairs definitely adds motivation for some sort of crime of passion. We're getting somewhere. Looking through Evan's emails, we can find one peculiar message from none other than Mother, who drops an important clue. I'm a bit smarter than this poor corpse. I would never use 668437 as my password. You don't see it much these days, but back then it was common to see companies use a phone's keypad letters to spell out simple words or slogans in their phone numbers. Taking our sequence of numbers here from Mother's email, obviously there's a lot of variables, but it's certainly no coincidence that one of the words this sequence of numbers forms is Mother. Now this isn't useful on its own, but we can apply this solution to another puzzle.
If this is Laya calling in, please enter your code for a separate message.
Going back to Jeanine's voice message, translating Laya to keypad numbers is 5242, which turned out to be the correct code.
Laya, I know you're not going to like this, but in light of what happened, Nancy has asked that you not attend the funeral or memorial service. Please don't call her up to complain now of all times.
So Nancy didn't want Laya at Evan's funeral. Evan had saved photos of Laya on his computer, so almost certainly these two had a side thing going on. Whether it was still ongoing, we don't know, but Nancy was aware of it. And there's one more thing we can still check. Going back to Nancy's phone message, entering 2426 for Chan gives us access to Nancy's voicemail.
Mrs. Chan, you don't know me, but I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
You have one old message.
Nancy, this is Laya. I can't believe you won't let the past lie and allow me to grieve over Evan's loss.
Interesting. So clearly, Laya didn't take Jeanine's advice and did call Nancy to complain about not attending Evan's funeral. As for who the first message is from, we have no idea. We've reached a bit of a dead end tugging at this thread. However, if we circle all the way back to the Bangalore World University website, we can find an article on the news section about a BWU alum named Martin Swinton, and how he was featured on a website, Metropolitan Living Homes, which we can go to, a site dedicated to the world of AI-enhanced homes, and we can see Martin Swinton is listed as a rising star. One of the other rising stars, a lady named Kate Nee, and we can follow a link to learn more about her. She also worked in the field of AI homes and created one named Isabella for a house owned by a wealthy man named Enrico Basta, who we also learn is a sailor. Scrolling further is where things get interesting, as we see photos of Enrico accompanied by a familiar face, the mystery lady from Evan's computer, who we can confirm is named Venus. The page refers to Venus as Enrico's elegant companion. An important detail here is this site refers to individuals by their first and last names. Kate Nee, Enrico Basta, Martin Swinton all have first and last names. However, when it comes to Venus, there's no last name, just Venus, which tells us that in all likeliness, Venus is a robot.
You're a vampire!
No shit, Sherlock.
An important thing to keep in mind with this entire chain of events back in 2001 is these sites were being updated in real time. Things were gradually unfolding, and in April, we got a major update. Going back to that sketchy anti-robot Unite and Resist website, if we scroll down to the bottom of the page, robot thugs should be reported directly to the Sentient Property Crime Bureau, which takes us to a new website, one for the SPCB, a federal agency that's responsible for enforcing criminal laws pertaining sentient property, basically robots. There's lots to look at on the site. They have a most wanted list, information on sentient property laws, updates on ongoing investigations, but the thing that immediately demands our attention is an update on the front page. The SPCB is in hot pursuit of a robot wanted for questioning in the death of North Carolina thermal engineer Evan Chan. Investigators are confident that the wily SP in question, a Belladurma product, will soon be apprehended. First of all, putting the mugshot of his corpse on display like that, why they gotta do our boy Evan dirty? Damn. But we learned some extremely important information here. The SPCB is in pursuit of a robot who is most likely a suspect in the murder of Evan Chan, also that this robot is a product of a company called Belladurma. Going back to the Unite and Resist website, in the news section they add some extra commentary on the Evan Chan murder. Crazed sex robot slays scientist. This just in, police are investigating the murder of Carolina scientist Evan Chan by a rampaging pleasure bot. The coroner's office has determined that this perverted robosexual race traitor had his head crushed in by his own automaton sex toy while on a depraved ocean cruise off the coast of North Carolina. After murdering Chan, the rogue sex bot scuttled the victim's love boat in an attempt to hinder discovery and pursuit. Ordinarily, we would applaud this episode. It is a poetic justice for a metal lover to be offed by the instrument of his perversion. So these people on the anti-robot militia website view Evan Chan as a traitor to his species, as he was doing the nasty with a robot. So now we have Venus, a love robot, as our primary suspect for Evan Chan's murder. And she's still at large. Now, there's so much going on with all of these websites, all of these characters, things constantly getting updated. I'm sticking mainly to the key points, the main story of this 2001 ARG. But one thing I haven't touched on yet is AI. Not the movie, but actual rogue AIs that have had a presence on many of the web pages. Even going back to the SPCB website's most wanted list, you can see that the photos on this page have been tampered with. Viewing the source code shows evidence of an AI hacking the page. It reminds me of when we covered the I Love Bees Halo 2 ARG back in 2019. AI has played a huge role in that, and the same can be said here. Going back to the Salla family website, on Evan's in memoriam page, there's evidence that an AI has been tampering with this website too. There's a note by Laya saying she found a new page on the site that shouldn't be there. It was a black page with a bunch of different elements arranged in what looked like an equation. Cobalt plus, in brackets, rubidium minus boron, end of brackets, plus oxygen, etc. So, using the old periodic table of elements as a cipher, and adding together the letters and subtracting others, working our way through the equation, gives us a website. coronersweb.org, the website of the Pan American Coroner's Office, where we can actually view Evan's full autopsy report. And we gotta stop and think, why would a cryptic message left on the Salla family website lead us here? Could an AI be assisting in our investigation? At this time, we don't exactly know. Looking over Evan's autopsy report, first of all, we learned that our dude is like 76 years old. So this being the future, I'm sure that science and medicine allow people to live longer and healthier lives, but damn, 76! Then we can see under his fingernails were traces of synthetic skin consisting with a proprietary Belladurma product, and the state of his genitalia implied our boy was getting it in prior to death. The cause of his death were contusions to his head and the back of his neck from a blunt object. So it's definitely not looking good for Venus. The implications here are as clear as day. Back on the Chan family website, a hidden link was found on Evan's page that takes us to the Aragon Institute of Technology, where, if we remember, was where both Evan and Jeanine went to school and where they met. Over on the graduate placement page, we can find that AIT had a trading partnership with Belladurma and a link to their site, at last. There's a few things to look at on the site, but most importantly, in the Contact Us section, there was an option to enter your fax number, because of course, in 2142, people still using fax machines. And if you were to put your fax number in there back in 2001, you'd actually receive a fax from Belladurma. And there were scans of these available on the Cloudmakers Yahoo group, but those are unfortunately now lost. What's important though, is the fax was addressed to Enrico Basta, and it was clear that Enrico was inquiring about replacing Venus. Now listen, this trail of breadcrumbs and clues that began back in March 2001 went on for 4 months and didn't conclude until July. And we've only reached the events that transpired in April, so we're gonna move a bit faster now. However, we've established the world, the key suspects, and individuals involved. Through Belladurma's Contact Us page, not only did people receive faxes, but on that fax there was an email address, and from there, a phone number. And from those interactions, we could determine that Enrico was actually abusing Venus. And even though she had run away and she had gone rogue, he was not at all interested in getting her back, despite her technically being his property. Belladurma, however, was very interested in getting her back, perhaps to see what went wrong with her or prevent her from doing any more damage, seeing as how she was one of their products and it was hurting their company image. We also learned from the phone call that Belladurma hired an agency called Rogue Retrieval to help track Venus down. And sure enough, through a Google search, people found Rogue Retrieval's website. Here we can learn of an incident outside of a robot repair shop involving a rogue robot where an innocent bystander was killed, Ken Whitman. He was with his companion named Jenny, who fled the scene. Back on the coroner's page, we can find Ken Whitman's autopsy report. We learn he has optical implants. Also, there's a strange image of his PDA device that's just a green screen. However, since he has optical implants, it makes sense that there may be more to the image, and people were able to discover a hidden message within. A vague coded message that implied his companion Jenny was a robot, and that he was at the repair shop to have her appearance altered. Big implications here that Jenny is actually Venus, and Ken was aiding her, and he was likely a part of some pro-robot agency. There's also a mention of something called the Rational Hatter, which was discovered to be a website. Solving a puzzle on the custom-designed hat section revealed a hidden page that showed Jenny had been captured by Rogue Retrieval. This hidden page doesn't work anymore, unfortunately. Since we need to use archive.org to view a lot of these old sites, some of them have limited functionality and some of them just straight up don't work. It is what it is. But why use a custom hat website to hide this information? It was basically a way for these rogue AIs to secretly communicate with each other and share information. Fast forward to April 30th, 2001, and Steven Spielberg held a panel discussion and preview for the film AI at MIT, and along with producer Kathleen Kennedy and star of the movie Haley Joel Osment. Interestingly, during a Q&A, one person asked about Jeanine Salla and what it was like working with her, and Kathleen kind of danced around the questions, saying that she had worked in special effects, and Haley Joel Osment said that he didn't get a chance to work with her much because she worked in post-production. However, afterwards, Kathleen Kennedy handed out Jeanine Salla's business cards to some of the curious audience members, all part of the plan, and here a new clue was found. The card was double-sided. There was an English side that didn't contain any new information, but the other side of the card was in an Indian dialect and had a phrase at the bottom that translated to Old Spanish Dust. Going back to Jeanine Salla's page on the Bangalore World University website, if we add Old Spanish Dust to the end of the URL, we uncover a new page, which contains links to lengthy reports written by Jeanine, one of them about a concerning AI named Loki, that can be traced back to a facility called Catskill Seaview Clinic. This clinic essentially treated patients experiencing nightmares by having AI influence or even enter their dreams. Loki was an evolving AI and became fascinated with patients' nightmares, and it went mad, and began eating people's dreams. Crazy stuff. Then, there was an update on the Unite and Resist website that allowed people to access the members-only section, where there was news of anti-robot militia rallies in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And these were real-life events that took place in nightclubs in these cities. Participants were instructed to be over 21 and to wear something red. And people showed up to all 3 of these events back on May 6, 2001, a chance to finally meet face to face. And man, I really wish there were photos or some sort of documentation on what it was like. Each rally had different puzzles to solve. One had a secret message written on the bathroom mirror. One city had a ripped up book to piece together. There were things that required communication between the cities, quite a challenge back in 2001. It was crazy. After the rallies, the very next day, it was announced that the leaders of the anti-robot militia rallies had each been murdered. Now listen, if I were to cover every intricate detail of this mystery, who killed Evan Chan, this video would probably be over 4 hours. Up until this point, I think we've established a solid idea of how this game was played, so I'm going to provide a summary of the back half of the events. The leaders of the armed rallies were assassinated by pro-AI groups, which is essentially the center of this entire story, an anti-AI versus pro-AI conflict. Enrico Basta ordered Kate Nee to reprogram Venus to kill Evan Chan. However, Kate secretly recorded a video incriminating Basta and threatened that her house's personal AI, named Ivy, would release it if she were to die.
Have you ever been worked on?
Once.
How?
Damage.
Venus won't give you any trouble. She's a very friendly girl.
But later on, an entry shows up at the coroner's office appearing to be Kate, which sends Ivy into a frenzy, and she straight up kills Enrico Basta and releases the video. Earlier in this video, I mentioned a BWU alum named Martin Swinton. Well, this whole time, Swinton has had updates to his story, and his role in all of this grows as things progress. He's building AIs for houses, however, they keep getting killed. It's eventually revealed that his AIs are being destroyed because a shadowy company/group feared he was investigating the disappearance of his brother, David.
My name is David.
Yes, that David. Martin Swinton and family are actually straight from the film. This mysterious, shadowy organization is called the DeLangs. DeLang basically means puppet master. They were making more copies of David, and were making robots referred to as passers. Basically AI robots that are indistinguishable from a real person, and they held positions of power, seats in Congress, etc., truly making DeLangs puppet masters. At one point in the story, they had attempted to kill Martin and replace him with a passer. Crazy. And it was the DeLangs who ordered the murder of Evan Chan after he had uncovered information he shouldn't have. Information he shared with Jeanine Salla, who was also murdered. We failed. We were supposed to warn her, damn it. The events of the AI mystery saga eventually culminated in the game world passing something called the Mann Act 2. The Mann Act, as it is in the real world, passed in 1910, a federal law to combat human trafficking and prostitution. In the AI world, the Mann Act 2 would essentially give rights to robots, treat them as citizens, recognize them as sentient beings. And the passing of the Mann Act 2 was directly influenced by the players of this ARG, as it was them who voted on it, and it ended up passing. But it ended up passing just narrowly with like 58% of the vote, which is actually kind of surprising. And that marked the end of the ARG, as the real puppet masters, the creators, formally emailed players thanking them on July 24th, 2001. The events of the online mystery took place over the course of 4 months. Thousands of pieces of content were created for the game, dozens of websites, secrets hidden on television commercials, movie posters, keys to puzzles hidden in newspapers, both the LA Times and New York Times, real-life, fictitious rallies. Nothing like this had ever been done before, and it paved the ways for numerous ARGs that followed. In the ARG world, the Who Killed Evan Chan mystery is referred to as the Beast. And my one regret with this video is that I didn't make it 2 years ago. You see, the vast majority of all of the conversation and documentation of these events happened on the Cloudmakers Yahoo group, and in December 2020, Yahoo Groups was permanently shut down. Tens of thousands of posts, photos, and so many other resources lost. They're gone, almost making this an impossible video to make. And just try doing a search of The Beast ARG on YouTube. There's nothing. So many things from like pre-2007 internet are so poorly archived and documented, and it's a damn shame. Because it's history, it really is. So if this video helps preserve just a little bit of what went down in this obscure corner of the internet back in 2001, then I'm happy. And I need to give a 20 years too late shout out to Adrian Hahn, who wrote a thorough recap and step-by-step discovery process of the events as they transpired back in 2001 on cloudmakers.org. The site is now offline, but a version is still visible using archive.org. So Adrian, wherever you are, I appreciate you. And that is the story of The Beast, the most influential alternate reality game of all time. And you guys, this video took a very long time to make, and I'm sorry it's been so long since the last one, but we should now be back to a regular release schedule. So for sure, stay tuned for more, and thanks so much for watching this one as always, everybody. Peace.
Mrs. Chan, you don't know me, but I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
Have you ever been worked on?
Once.
Code?
Damage.
Venus won't give you any trouble. She's a very friendly girl. Aren't you, Katamina?
I promise this won't hurt. The light pen delivers code in rapid pulses of IR light. The program will help you. It's supposed to help you defend yourself in case you are forced to be intimate with unauthorized user. It should downwire into your autonomic. Nothing you'll have to worry about to run. I've simmed my code, but it looks like you've made changes. If it doesn't run right...
You'll still be paid.
Why did you hire me if you're going
Let's get on with it.
Kate, Socrates says that purpose and virtue are the same. For example, the virtue of a knife is to be sharp.
And the virtue of a man?
Justice. According to Socrates. I thought I knew my purpose once, but now the world seems very mysterious to me.
Miss Nay's virtue is expensive, but worth having. Do you remember when we thought you were going to be somebody? How long ago it seems. Meet Isabella, my genuine Nay. I was hoping my guests would be impressed. Isabella, transfer $85,000 to Miss Nay's account and make it quick. She needs some money.
What's he going to do?
Do you know what truly sets an elegant man apart? His accessories.